To start with, I would like to introduce Dr. Deepashri MR, Assistant Professor, IIHMR, Bangalore. Dr. Deepashri MR is a healthcare management professional with a background in Ayurveda. She has 6+ years of professional experience in health project implementation, training, and documentation. She has worked in various capacities as a director of projects, researcher, and CSR executive. She has completed her training on continual quality improvement, tools and techniques by QCI. She has been instrumental in organizing training and workshop on implementation of NABH accreditation at IIHMR Bangalore. Ma'am, I request you to introduce our institution and our training program, certificate course in quality assurance and accreditation in healthcare. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sushma. Welcome all the participants in this beautiful evening to know more about Beyond Accreditation, Sustainable Quality at Hospitals. So in this evening, it would be a privilege for me to introduce my college, IIHMR Bangalore, and please give me a few seconds so that I can share my screen. IIHMR Bangalore, the college where I studied and currently working. So we are the prestigious institution. We started way back in 1984, which is specialized more on research. It's a research organization, post-graduation education and training in healthcare sector. IIHMR University is the 65th in the ranking of NIRF, and we are the top 1% management institutions in our country. With a legacy of 35 years, we have been identified as Institute of Excellence by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And also, we are also a WHO collaborating centers. We have 4 centers. IIHMR University, IIHMR Society has 4 centers, that is Jaipur, Delhi, Kolkata has a project office, and Bangalore has a South campus. IIHMR Bangalore started way back in the year 2004, and we are the specialized institution for management and research in healthcare. Our flagship program is a 2-year full-time course in post-graduation program with a specialization in hospital management, health information IT, and pharmaceutical management. We were ranked as the top hospital management college by Higher Education Review 2007 and 2018. We received a national award for excellence in education in the category Educational Institute with the best academic and industry interface by the World Education Congress, Mumbai in the year 2020. And we were the best and recognized as the best B school ranked by 105 in the year 2021. Our course has been accredited by the National Board of Accreditation, approved by AICTC, and has been awarded MBA equivalence by the Association of Indian Universities. Moving ahead, we work in 4 different areas, such as academics, research, learning and development, and consultancy. I think I have has previously told that we are in academics, like we have provide a flagship program, that's PGDHM program. And in research also, we collaborate with national and international agencies, state and central government for doing a health systems research, such as, and the key topics are health system strengthening, nutrition, maternal and child health, IEC and behavioral change communication, tribal and urban health, and geriatric health. We have a separate learning and development center at IIHMR Bangalore, where the key areas we take up learning and development courses are leadership motivation, digital health, hospital management, quality assurance, health insurance, national nutrition and stress management, medical ethics, and legal issues. We also take up, as an individual, as an organization, we do take up consultancy services in digital health, quality management, strategy and management, competitive benchmarking, and healthcare advocacy, monitoring and evaluation, and implement interpersonal communications. We have collaborations with universities, healthcare technologies, and healthcare delivery system. The main collaborators with us are Maastricht University, VGU Jaipur, BNM Institute of Technology Bangalore, Mahidal University, and with University of Mysore. Healthcare technology institutions such as HX Central, RxTS, Cloud Physician, Teleradiology, and Bionic Entra. We also have partners and collaborated with healthcare delivery system, the system partners such as Burjeel Hospital, Santis Hospital, Rajarajeshwari Hospital, Sakra Hospital, and Narayana Health. We are, as an existing organization, we are empaneled with national and state level government organizations such as under Jal Jeevan Mission. We are identified as a key resource center under National Health System Resource Center, that is NHSRC. We are empaneled as an implementing agency under health system research. Under National Health Authority, we are empaneled as a quality management implementing agency. And with Karnataka Evaluation Authority, we have partnered with we have empaneled with them as a monitoring and evaluating agencies. So it's my privilege to introduce our Learning Center for Learning and Development of IIHMR Bangalore, where we aim to improve and enhance management practices, skills, and skills among the healthcare industry stakeholders. We develop unique career accelerating programs for professionals, doctors, allied healthcare professionals, students, and aspiring candidates in healthcare industry. We have different program offerings, which is short-term certificate program, long-term certificate program, executive programs, management development program, webinar series, and student-focused program. These are the few programs which we have conducted previously and which is upcoming in future. So we have taken up a certificate course on innovative models of digital healthcare, which was unique in its development and the course. We also have a certificate course in integrated digital intensive care management, which we have completed with one cohort and started with the second cohort with a batch of intensivist doctors, nurses. The third program, which I would like to highlight, is the executive program in digital health, digital hospital management. It's an executive program for 9 months. And we also have an executive program in hospital management, which starts in the March of 2022. And we have a certificate course in nutrition and health along with University of Mysore, which we have completed with one batch, and second cohort is about to begin and admissions is open for that. And we also have a unique program on quality management at hospital that is called as certificate course in quality assurance and accreditations in healthcare. Today, we are talking more about quality in hospital and accreditations. So let me take this time and introduce the certificate course of our quality assurance and accreditation, which is envisaged by IIHMR Bangalore. So this course provides on healthcare practitioners and the personnel who is key interest in healthcare, which we like to improve the knowledge and skills needed to a patient's safety and quality improvement initiatives in the micro and macro levels. The participants will explore the basics about healthcare quality and understand what's the science lying behind the patient safety and quality improvement. Will be able to design and select effective healthcare measures, analyze patient safety problems and process using appropriate tools, appropriate quality improvement tools, and apply a systematic approach and steps to attain accreditations for their own healthcare organizations. So who will be beneficial by this course? First and foremost, who all are interested in quality management and believes in a patient safety would be able to take up this course. And for us, it's practicing doctors, specialists, and medical PG students, nursing practitioners and PG students, hospital managers, administrators, and including who are who are starting with the QMS in their own hospitals and who are planning to have an NABH or any other accreditations for their own healthcare organizations. So also this course would interest the health IT and informatics domain specialists, and those who are working in hospital, home healthcare, nursing home, diagnostic centers, owners and managers for whom quality matters. Medical technicians, like radiographers, laboratory, pharmacy, and other scientific staff, and who wanted to make a difference with the patient safety, and hospital and administration and management students who want to own a career in quality and operations at hospital. So it doesn't only benefits the participants, but it also benefits the organization if they are sponsoring, because it improves the production efficiency, create a cost-effective implementation, maintain customer thirst, encourage the business growth and better environment. As we all know that nowadays the accreditations and quality has become the key buzzword in the healthcare industry, and if the whole thing benefits the organization, healthcare organizations also. Coming to the program highlights, this program is an amalgamation of both practical and evidence-based curriculum, and the curriculum focus mainly on the quality and management and performance indicators. It would be a one-stop solution for all who are looking for an quality and accreditation processes. And it's a live online classes. There will be a live projects in a cross-functional teams, and there are evaluation criteria along with that, and guidance and knowledge sharing by the industry leaders. We are bringing up industry leaders for the course as it moves on. And this course has been approved by Karnataka Medical Council and given as a 6 credit hours for the certificate program, and it would be beneficiaries for the doctors as well as all the healthcare practitioners. So the pedagogy used in this program would be an interactive session with the students. Though it is online, we are making it an interactive with both theory and practical examples for better understanding of the applications. Lectures along with the presentation, we are providing the case studies and the module developed focused for this course, and there are to enhance the analytical problem solving and decision making skills. There will be an hands-on training for the students who will be doing practice, who will practice on quality tools, checklist, how to develop an SOP, and worksheets for quality indicators, which help you to develop the skill to implement the quality management system in an actual setup. Student will be, and also has an evaluation part. We will be evaluating the participants regularly. There will be quizzes, brownie points for class participation and answering the questions, quizzes, assignments, and also a group or individual presentations. Much details I would like to explain in modules and evaluating the timelines. As we know, February 25th, we are starting this program. So the plan goes like February, March, and April. We are developing on the 5 modules, which says the first module will be Introduction to Healthcare Quality. The second would be Quality Assurance and QCI. The third would be Quality Management System, Quality Measurement Tools and Techniques. The next would be Patient Safety and Risk Management. The sixth and last would be the accreditation in healthcare. So if you see the module and the topics covered, it starts from the basics of quality up to the accreditation. And we are proud to say that we are also implementing a separate module for the fifth version of NABH implementation at both healthcare organization setups. So this would be the timeline. And evaluation criteria, the first point is we are giving both quizzes and a module. A project work will be allocated to you. So there will be 2 project works and a quiz. So the total 200 points of evaluation will be there. And candidates who successfully completes this course will be awarded with a certificate. Coming to the main persons who are taking up the classes would be Dr. Usha Manjunath, who would be the director, program director. She is a director and professor of IIHMR Bangalore. Along with her, we have Dr. Chetana Hedges. She is a quality consultant, quality operation, healthcare operations, quality and audits at Motherhood Chain of Hospitals and adjunct professor at IIHMR Bangalore. We have with us Dr. Kirti Uday. She is an NQAS national assessor and associate dean academics and students affair at IIHMR Bangalore. Along with the team, we have Ms. Rupali Chopra. She's an registered NBQA and individual NABH consultant and also visiting faculties at IIHMR Bangalore, and me as a co-program coordinator. Program details would be like the program starts from 25th of February. It's a 3 months course, 2 days per week. That would be on Friday and Saturday. The timings would be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The course fee is 18,000. And for more details, you can contact us at the given number and the email ID. So thank you for giving me such wonderful opportunity to present about our course on quality and quality assurance and accreditations at hospital. Over to you, Sushma, for the further presentation.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful introduction about our institution and the course as well. Now, moving forward, those who are interested in this course can take up, because the applications are, we are receiving the applications for the course for quality and as well as for nutrition and health, certificate course in nutrition and health. So moving forward, I would like to introduce our institution director, IIHMR Bangalore, Dr. Usha Manjunath. She has over 20 years of experience as management faculty, has a unique experience in allied health and disability, communication, entrepreneurship, general and health system management research as academics. She is a dynamic leader with interest in behavioral science, management and entrepreneurship, academics and teaching as well, consultancy and research projects, trainings and capacity building, entrepreneurship, community and social development work. Besides all this, she publishes articles in national and international journals. She has also published a book on total quality service in healthcare in 2012 and was also awarded with Bharat Ratna Indira Gandhi Gold Medal Award. Ma'am, and also we know that you have done an extensive experiment. Sorry. We also know that you have done an experiment in sorry, ma'am.
Ma'am,
that you have done an extensive.
I will take it over. Thank you.
Sorry.
A big introduction, and maybe that's what got you nervous. But thank you for that introduction. It was long. Good evening, everyone. I think it's wonderful on a Sunday evening. So many people have joined, and welcome to the masterclass. And I welcome and thank Dr. Anjali Arun to be the expert person to be delivering the masterclass. And I'm sure, I hope, whatever that you're doing, this would help you. My assumption is you are either associated with, healthcare in some fashion, or maybe doing general management, or kind of interested to see what are the opportunities in healthcare. So healthcare is nothing new to any one of us. So I will just take about 10 minutes to set the context and see what all of us think quality is all about. So let us assume what I will do is I will use the chat, and you can put your answers or your ideas into it for about a minute. So I want to know if there is a patient who goes to a hospital. Okay, so what are the expectations from his perspective? Let us assume he goes to a hospital. So So therefore, what would be his expectations? What would he want? So I'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute. Put your, okay, less waiting time. All right. I'm waiting for more answers to come. Good service. Yes. Okay. Good treatment, hygiene, quality care. All right. Quality service at affordable cost. Very good. Can I have more answers? Behavior of staff should be good. Yes, very good. Self-care with respect. It should be, people should be interactive. Safety, yes. Cure of illness being heard and quick service, very good. Empathy, answering all inquiry, maintaining that, okay. So I presume that is turnaround time, all right, okay. Good relations, cost, convenience, satisfaction, okay, all right. So good. So now maybe, you started thinking, and which is very good. So when patient goes to a hospital, there are lots of things that, he and his family or her family would be expecting. That, like whatever that you said, that, the first thing, of course, is that I get well, right? I'm, care is given well. Okay, so that's one part of, when you are thinking of quality, the focus is the patient, and then who's the provider. So the second point is the provider. So the provider could be a doctor, a nurse, a technician, and many of the people who are involved in care. So it's a big time, team approach. And therefore, from the registration or from even calling to, going to the doctor, getting the treatment, collecting the medicines from pharmacy, all these are processes where, patient is engaged in, and that provider would be providing the care. And therefore, there are many steps and processes where this quality could be really be affected positively or negatively, right? So, so therefore, there is a very important part of the provider. And also provider has also got what we call as certain amount of, methods that he or she has to use. So if you're a nurse, you have certain protocols to follow. If you're a doctor, there are certain protocols based on the disease or the surgery or whatever that the thing is being done. Or if you're a technician, also there are certain protocols to be followed. The protocols could be as simple as, or, actually it is very important, as, taking consent, informed consent, informing the patient before a procedure is initiated, because the patient should know what he's engaging in. So therefore, now the complexity of quality starts to increase. So from a patient perspective, there are certain expectations. Of course, doctor also wants patient to get well. Everyone in the system also wants the patient to get well, stay short, and so on and so forth. So now the provider has certain protocols in the sense, so if the protocol is not properly managed or followed, then there would be some probably errors or mistakes that could happen, right? Say, for example, there could be a medication error, or it could be an adverse event because the protocols were not followed, all the things were not followed very well. So there is one patient perspective. I'm telling the broadly what really we really look at from quality perspective is the patient, the provider, and then there is a payer. Who pays for that? It could be the patient, that is out of pocket, or it could be an insurance or IIHMR Bharat, and that also brings in a certain amount of regulation. So at the provider and hospital, there is certain regulations that has to be followed. And from the payer and the perspective of the government and others, also there is regulation. So that means whatever we are really looking at, we are really looking at providing care. So what is this, whole thing, quality has to be really modeled, because it's very easy. We all get well, we go to the doctor, but we don't and probably think of what is going behind it. But if you are a provider, like you have all signed up, I presume you have something to do with healthcare, and therefore you will be knowing what all things that go on at the back end. So the three important things that we really think in terms of, the system creation is the patient. So anything that we do, it is about the patient, it's about the care. So putting the patient and the care at the center. So that's the first thing. Then there is provider. So, they may want certain procedure, they may have preference, they may have, skills. So therefore there is a provider part, and then there is a payer and a regulator. So these three perspective is very important to really look at. But then why are we really talking about quality? I'm sure you must have all heard about. From a patient perspective, we said there are expectations and something could go wrong, an adverse event. So he may go to a consumer court. So therefore, there is different levels of regulatory bodies, and therefore there's a need for quality to be evidenced. That means I have to document, I have to have everything, the protocols check, or maybe I have to really show that all this were followed, still something happened, then there's nothing wrong with the doctor or the provider who has provided care, right? Because some things could go wrong, and that is not because of the doctor. So, therefore we have to understand that there is patient could also have, has certain say. So we have to kind of create a system which would be really catering to all. And your payer, for example, when you claim, he specifies that these only have to be done, or maybe the tests and this kind of thing. And beyond that, maybe they won't pay. So there is also a cost involved, even though it is not, directly a part of quality, let us say, or the care. But it in some ways invariably enters into the picture. So keeping this in mind, provider, patient, and payer or the regulator. All right. So that's the framework that all of us have to look at. The next is why everybody, the provider obviously is trained, skilled, and he or she will be giving quality. Of course, yes, they are giving, but are we measuring it? So if we can't measure, then you cannot improve, right? Say, for instance, they may have certain, continuously you have to improve your, provision of care. The expectations may vary, keep changing. Now the patients are, they're very good, right? They go and Google and find out, and they ask you 100 questions. And if you don't answer satisfactorily, they will think the doctor is not providing or the nurse is not providing care properly, right? So therefore, there are a lot of new things that happen, and the patient and the knowledge, the experience, the type of illness itself, all this may kind of differ and increase or decrease, or we may be seeking a lot of different things, and that expectation will determine how we really design our quality system. It's not that so there is a clinical quality part which is at the core, and then there are process, right? So say, for example, operations. Initially I started off saying he will come and register, then he will go wait. Somebody said waiting time should be less, and then he will get a consultation, then the doctor will refer him to some diagnostic test, then he gets that done, he comes back with the result. So there's a lot of things in movement within the system, and this part is called as the operations. So there are many processes and operations. So this has to be very streamlined. So there is a clinical quality, which is from the provisioning of the clinical care itself and the operations, right? Because it's not one single person, the different types of teams are involved. So there is an operations quality. And then there is service. Say, for example, if I'm waiting in the lounge or at the registration, at least I should have a comfortable seating maybe, or a token, or a waiting line is good and democratic. It's like not, someone walks in and gets the appointment and I wait. And these kinds of things are a part of service. If I'm an inpatient, then I have to inpatient in a hospital, then I have to get like food at the right temperature. People have to be really talking to me well. Many people said that that's quality, right? So that is the service quality. So we said clinical quality. So we said operations quality, operations that happens, as the care is given to the patient. And there is also the part of service. Then within this gamut of three types of quality, how do we really go ahead? How do we endorse that there is quality? One of the ways to endorse is by having an external person saying that I have all the systems, all the protocols, all the manuals written. We know how to do things. These are the standards, and therefore I will follow. So that is accreditation. So what we do is we put a system in place. There is accreditation agency will come and examine and then say that, yes, it is certified. So, so therefore, it could have an accreditation, then a certification happens. So it is a stamp to say that this is happening. So within your system, you will also be measuring, right? So you will be doing medical audits, you will be doing clinical audits, you will be measuring customer satisfaction, you will be doing a medical records audit. So there are different types of things that you would have said that to achieve that quality, to show that there is quality, you will be doing a lot of things, right, at the hospital. So because we said in the beginning that there are expectations across the people who are involved in care, and including patient and family to provider and the payer or the regulator. So therefore, this whole thing has to be continuously done. Accreditation is one very important one. If you are compliant, then you're doing good at one level. But is that all enough? But we have to continuously improve. The customer expectations may go up. The doctors know more and more. Knowledge and science changes. You saw during COVID how new methods were being put together because the knowledge and science was improving. The knowledge was improving basically, right? Because we had understood the system better. So similarly, it could happen here too. So what we will have to do is, how do we sustain within? Is it enough that we get accreditation and we get a stamp, and is it enough we stop? No, at a hospital, you have to have internal systems which are very strong. So to sustain that quality system, like I said about the people and the players in it, and then the kind of measurement techniques and others that you do, and then very importantly, even communication that happens between various players in the system. And then how do you sustain? Do you build very strong ones? Culture is very important. All right. So as Indians, are we very conscious of quality as a culture? Are we really seeking it? Yes, we are seeking it. It is improving. Earlier we thought cost was the only one. Now we want better quality. We are looking at across, and we know way to address our grievances and so on and so forth. So therefore, there is a very important part of the culture. So that everybody has to be really saying, I will do the best. If the processes are defined, I will follow it meticulously. I will also put the patient in the center of care and really provide the care properly, right? So therefore, we said communication and culture is also very important. The other part is counting in the sense, measuring. If you don't measure, you can't improve. And therefore, we will develop some indicators, all right? So we develop some indicators to measure this quality. So if, how do I measure? So I can have what is known as my system is what is, really looking at is the structure. That is the doctors, certified people, all the equipment, medicines. That is my structure. Do I have everything in place? Then I can provide some quality. Then there are processes, structure, process, and outcome. So processes, I have to measure processes. Somebody put turnaround time. So if I go to a test, I have a turnaround time. I expect the result. Remember COVID, first we were getting it in 24 hours. Sometimes we were getting it 48 hours. The turnaround time for testing to getting the result was very long, right? So that was not acceptable to people. So therefore, you have to work on ensuring what is promised and what is expected, what is promised, and you have to work within that. All right. So structure, process, and outcome. So these forms the basic of quality system. And then you have to define. I define quality in three very important parts: clinical quality, operations quality, and service quality. And then building that relationships, because in communication and culture. So 4 parts I have to really, this is what my quality is. Then I put systems and processes. So I will have a structure, people, infrastructure could be people, and all that is very important. Without them, I cannot provide quality care. Then is the how do I design my processes and how do I measure the outcomes and continuously improve. So with this, I kind of, therefore it is very important to think of that quality as an internal system has to be strengthened. It is not just because, we have taken NABH and we want to, good, it is the starting point. Yes, we have to do it, somewhere we have to start, because otherwise we may, the errors and other things may really put us in trouble. There could be medical legal cases, and because of adverse events and so on and so forth. So there are statutory requirements. There are certain, medical requirements and protocols, and then there are patient expectations. So 3 points that I highlighted in my speech to introduce quality to all of you and live, so how does this really happen? It's a very complex process, right? So Dr. Anjali would be further taking over and telling. So just to kind of end, I said about patient, provider, and payer and regulator. And then I also talked about, the types of quality that you want to really improve in any quality system: clinical quality, service quality, and process quality. And then how do I really design my quality system? I go around using a very systems approach, that is structure, process, and measurement outcome. So 3 points there: structure, process, and outcome. So with these 3 points, I keep the platform open and for the masterclass to further go. And Dr. Anjali will explain and help you understand nitty-gritties as to how hospital quality is really, the system is put in place and how it is done in reality. And thank you all for joining us. And once again, I thank Dr. Anjali to be taking this forward. And over to you, Dr. Anjali. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for experience and insights. Ma'am, am I audible? Thank you so much, ma'am, for experience and insights of your about quality in hospitals. Now, moving forward, I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Anjali Arun, Dr. Anjali Arun. Dr. Anjali Arun has completed her MD Pathology from University of Bombay and postdoctorate fellowship in anatomical pathology at Royal Melbourne Hospital, Melbourne, Australia. She has over 20 plus years of experience in the healthcare sector. She has worked with many esteemed organizations and working as NABH assessor since 2006. While working as Chief of Laboratory and Transfusion Services, she was instrumental in NABL accreditation for laboratory and NABH accreditation for Blood Bank of Vikram Hospital. She also worked as Head Quality Assurance Assistant Professor for Department of Transfusion Medicine and CSSD Coordinator at JSS Hospital, Mysore. And currently she is working as Head of Laboratory and Transfusion Services. And she is also working as a Medical Superintendent at Apollo BGS Hospital, Mysore. We are excited to listen to you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you. Namaste. And thank you to Dr. Usha and the IIHMR Bangalore for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you all regarding beyond accreditation, sustainable hospital quality system. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So, when we talk of, I think Dr. Usha has given a very good framework about accreditation quality, especially in the healthcare. There are a few questions about accreditation. Now, having spent about, 10, 12 years, from approximately 2010, the accreditation process in this country, particularly related to NABH, really took off, even though the standards were defined in 2005. So the questions, when they ask, simple questions: is accreditation about documentation? Yes, it is. Is the cost high? Maybe yes. Does it become routine? Sometimes you have to say yes. Accreditation is not fun. Sometimes you have to say yes to this also. And there is no scope for innovation. There are standards we have to follow, we have to comply. And you may think that the answers to all these questions are yes. And then you wonder, how you are going to sustain accreditation and make work interesting. This whole process of accreditation started in
Dr.
US.
Anjana,
Hello?
ma'am, you are changing the slide and we are not able to see it now.
You are not able to see?
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
on which slide am I? Second one?
No,
Questions?
ma'am, first one.
Oh, oh. Now what shall we do? I have to say, you will share because
Yes, ma'am.
I am able to see the change slide. Has it
Yes,
changed now?
no, ma'am.
Okay. Now what shall we do then? You will.
Ma'am, I will share the screen
I
and
will
you
stop
can guide
sharing.
me. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, I can see. Now about the questions which I discussed. Next slide, please. So the whole process of accreditation, as it is discussed, it probably started, mostly it is the USA, and it started in the 50s. But really it took off after the Institute of Medicine in 1998 in its report revealed that between 44,000 and 98,000 people die in the United States due to medical errors every year. Now, the number of deaths due to medical errors in India could be anybody's guess because we really do not have a reporting system and we do not really know how many people die as a result of medical errors. Next. What are the options then to prevent these errors and ensure quality? There could be licensing and regulation by the government. For example, now blood banks are completely only run by after licensing, or the ultrasound for pregnancy is done after the PCPNDT approval from the DHO. There is second option, that is certification by approved bodies, and that could be ISO certification, etc. And then there is voluntary accreditation, and everybody believes that it is best because the medical field as such, even though there are some laws, by and large it is self-regulated. It was the MCI first and now it will be NMC and the state medical councils. It is not completely governed by the rules and regulations of the government. Similarly, voluntary accreditation for the medical field was considered as the best. And what is accreditation? A simple definition, a self-assessment and external peer assessment process used by healthcare organizations to accurately assess their level of performance in relation to established standards and to implement ways to continuously improve. This continuous quality improvement is integral part of any accreditation. Next. So, accreditation, is it a panacea for all problems associated with healthcare quality? Maybe yes, maybe no. Now, the NABH or by the QCI, NABL, those are on the forefront as far as this country is concerned. But even states are developing their own standards, like Andhra Pradesh has developed, Kerala has probably developed. There is also Gujarat model which is coming up. And then there is JCI. I must say that I am quite proud that Apollo Hospital, Delhi, was the first to be JCI accredited in 2005, even before the NABH standards came. Of course, now plenty of hospitals are both NABH and JCI accredited. The Australian Council of Healthcare Standards are also there and they are also pretty good. And the laboratories also follow the College of American Pathologists Laboratory Accreditation Program. So there are multiple options and the NABH itself has got the entry level, the progressive and then the complete NABH accreditation. Next. So the story of NABH so far, that is where I have been working and my experience is in NABH. It was established in 2006 as a constituent of Quality Council of India and the first edition standards were in 2006. The SQA recommends and it is followed that the standards are revised every 3 years. So the 5th edition standards were published in August 2020. To date, 838 plus hospitals have been accredited in this country. So it's a very significant force as far as the hospital accreditation is concerned. Next. Now these are the chapters in the NABH standards. The first 5: access, assessment and continuity of care, care of patient, management of medication, patient rights and education, and hospital infection control are all patient related standards or patient centric standards, as they say. It addresses almost every activity which is related to the patient and healthcare institution interaction. Then the chapter 6 onwards, patient safety and quality improvement, responsibilities of management, facilities management and safety, human resource management and information management, which includes the medical records, which could be paper as well as the computerized records. Basically all information which is related to the healthcare, that is managed. So these are the 10 chapters which are there, and they practically address the management of any healthcare organization. Mind you, this remains same for the NABH standards, whether it is the allopathy, homeopathy, even for Ayurveda, dental, etc. The chapters remain more or less the same. The contents might vary. Next. Now, the one beauty of the 5th edition, which came in 2020, is that the core have to be met at pre-assessment. That means those standards are absolutely non-negotiable. At the pre-assessment level, it has to be met. The commitment has to be met at the assessment level, the achievement, and they are given in different colors. In the surveillance assessment and excellence, which are green in color, are supposed to be met at the reassessment level. That means within the 5th edition standards also there is a incremental gain as far as both the organization and the patient is concerned. Next. Now, the sustainability of the accreditation process has been questioned often. And when I went through this reference, this is from Saudi Arabia. This could be true anywhere in the world. There are articles in, about the JCI in US also. But I thought this is closer to India, and a lot of Indians also work in Saudi. So they have found that sustainability of quality improvement initiatives within Saudi Ministry of Health hospitals is, their summary is the next slide, please. They say that failure of quality improvement projects has been a global issue. Ministry of Health has long been introducing a number of improvement initiatives and quality accreditation projects. These efforts represent precious investments that are supposed to sustain and flourish over time. However, the sustainability of improvement initiatives within the MOH hospitals is still the main struggle. That means they find that the sustainability of the improvement really is not happening. Next. There is in India also, when some incidents happened like fire in a particular hospital, even though we write the name, it was a NABH accredited hospital. The fire happened at 2 in the midnight or in the night, and about 100 people, which included patients and staff, have suffered as a result of it. There were deaths, and that being an NABH accredited hospital, it has raised very serious questions about correlation between quality and accreditation. Does really accreditation lead to quality of care or not? There is a need to understand actually what is covered in accreditation and what it does not stand for. Next. What happens is that the accreditation, what is the purpose of accreditation? Why is the hospital really, any hospital, going for accreditation? Is it just a promotional tool, or is it a tool for continuous quality improvement? Does the entire focus of quality in the hospital be confined to the process of accreditation and reaccreditation, or is there really an effort to improve the quality? I mean, you as the budding professionals should inculcate that habit of really trying to improve things, whatever it is, around you, whether it is in the hospital or in your personal life. And of course, there are various issues of quality in hospital which are outside the realms of accreditation. Not everything can be addressed by accreditation, or so it is thought. Next. Now, whether getting accreditation is the finishing point of race towards the quality. That means once we get accreditation for our institution, really is our journey for quality over, or does it really start? Does it really stimulate us to think? For example, you think about spurious drugs. Can we really be able to save our patients from spurious drugs? What about the quality of biomaterials, stents, or the biomedical equipment? Can we really help our patients to prevent some such thing from happening? For example, you all must have heard about a particular company had to really pay back to the patient's compensation because the prostheses were found to be defective. Now, can we really catch this and prevent this from happening? Next is, of course, quality of human resources. People study in different institutions, whether it is the technicians, whether it is the doctors, or whether it is the nurses. The quality is variable. Some institutes have reputation and the training will be excellent. Some institutes may not be up to the mark. There is also a shortage, severe shortage of human resources. So what is it that we can do to really bring everybody up to the mark? Next. Now, what is the reality of accreditation? Accreditation essentially identifies the capability of the hospital to deliver quality care. Means a particular hospital is capable of giving care. It has the systems and processes in place as mentioned by Dr. Usha. But it does not assure that the hospital delivers quality care all the time. Maybe that is what exactly happened in the hospital where there was fire. Maybe the drills were happening, but maybe it was not up to the mark. Maybe they were really not following the letter and the spirit of accreditation, and maybe there were no internal audits to that extent. Next. Now, there are certain points against accreditation also. Hospital accreditation has been criticized for its emphasis on the rigid structure and the documentation. There less attention is given to the clinical process and outcomes of care. There are, of course, challenges in implementation. Many institutes do say that it is very difficult to implement the standards, and the strain of complying sometimes makes the staff go into a relaxed mode, and that has made service levels reach a low in between the accreditation process, or sometimes anytime, every time that may be the case. Next. Now, you would have noticed the incremental changes in the standards. Let me just, revise it once again, that the core, which is red in color, has to be present in pre-assessment. Commitment has to be present in the assessment. Achievement in the surveillance assessment, and the green, excellence, is in the assessment. Next. Now, the AAC4, if you all are familiar with it, something very simple. The patients cared by the organization undergo an established initial assessment. Now, the red, that is the initial assessment of the outpatients, daycare and inpatients and emergency patients is done. And when there is an asterisk, it means it is documented. It's a very simple standard, but it is required, because if you do not document that initial assessment, it is going to be extremely difficult for you to know what had happened to the patient when the patient came. The B is that the initial assessment is performed by qualified personnel. The initial assessment is performed within a given time frame based on the needs of the patient. The initial assessment of daycare and inpatient includes nursing assessment, which is done at the time of admission and it is documented. Then the initial assessment for inpatients results in a documented care plan. Now, mind you, this is expected at the time of reassessment. That means we are going to scale up the way we are functioning over a period of time of the the pre-assessment, assessment, and the reassessment, and we have time to really bring about this change and sustain the change also. Last, what they say is the care plan includes identification of special needs regarding the care following discharge. For example, if we are discharging a patient with a urinary catheter or with a Ryle's tube or even with a tracheostomy, this is a special need, or for that matter a simple walker because patient is prone to falls. All this is documented, and not just documented but explained to the caregiver at home how to look after all these things. That means that there is a scope for scaling up the care as far as the patient is concerned. It should be done, it is common sense, but this particular standards binds us to this fact and it ensures that we follow it. Next. Now, in the COP 16, similarly, the organization identifies and manages patients who are at high risk of morbidity and mortality. What I would like to bring to your notice is that the organization, in the E, the organization identifies and manages patients who are at risk of developing deep vein thrombosis and probably resultant, pulmonary embolism. When the patient is immobilized for a long time, if the patient develops deep vein thrombosis and these thrombi embolize, it can cause fatal pulmonary embolism, especially in orthopedic cases who either have fractures or undergo surgery. So this, which something which probably we would not have done normally, NABH standards ensures quality. Next, yeah. Now, as I already mentioned, the steps in accreditation are pre-assessment, assessment, surveillance, and re-accreditation. What happens as a result of all these activities is that there is actually leadership develops in the organization at various levels. We are surprised at the way in which people rise up to the occasion of learning the standards, implementing them, training up their staff, and documenting the whole process. It develops analytical capability, it develops crisis management ability, because and also the risk management, both these things, because we are doing the code blue drills, we are doing the code pink drills, we are doing the fire drills, or code orange, code red drills, or code brown drills where spills are involved, chemical spills. Also, if there is we train people to do internal audits, their observation skills improve, and the training and development of or learning and development training, whenever we identify needs for training, we are able to train people and the learning and development really progresses. Of course, documentation improves by leaps and bounds once we are in the accreditation process. Next. I mentioned about some challenges during the hospital accreditation. There is an Indian perspective on this, and this article is as recent as February 2020. I just thought I will share these challenges with all of you. Next. They have found inadequate infrastructural facilities as a very big challenge. But definitely, once a hospital looks at accreditation, the management is to an extent forced to see that the infrastructure is improved. The financial constraints, some institutions have financial constraints, and then we have the choice of taking up whatever level of accreditation you want. That is, the entry level standards are absolutely minimum. It really does not cost much, but it improves the quality to a large extent. And if you really have the finances, you can go up to the full NABH. You can stay in the entry level for 2 years. After that, for next 2 years, you can be in progressive, and then you can go to the full NABH, and slowly you can scale up your financial commitment also. Then compliance with all regulatory and professional requirements, that is sometimes a problem, but I think where there is a will, there is a way, and it ensures that a qualified person and trained person only will remain in the treatment of the patient. Also, the regulatory compliance should not, it never finds you that some compliance has not been done. The insufficient human resources, yes, it is a problem, no doubt, but there is provision that only for the occupancy of the or the workload of the institution you can have the staffing. So it is not necessary that if you are a 500 bedded hospital, you should have staffing for all 500 beds. If your 150 beds are occupied, you can be having staffing accordingly, and it is different for wards, ICUs, OPDs, etc. Then the lack of training we already discussed, but NABH or any accreditation process gives us an opportunity to train people. There can be a structured training and we can improve the quality of people over a period of time. The complexities of documentation definitely bother people, but I think over a period of time you can understand and solve this. And adoption of information technology, there is more or less no option to this, because the quality indicators which Dr. Usha mentioned, you cannot really present those quality indicators or look at those quality indicators unless you really adopt information technology. So what happens is that information technology has to be used, and it is easily available now, and we can really do it. Next. So all these challenges really are not very insurmountable as far as NABH is concerned. Now the challenges in implementing the accreditation model in a military and university hospital in Iran, this is of course another country, and I thought that we should look at it. They usually follow the JCI standards. Next. This is also a recent article. There they have brought out some newer points other than what have been seen in India. So they have really categorized them. I have picked up few of them. So it's a difficult, time consuming model is what they think. They feel that there is less attention to the patient, and it has got something to do with money, accreditation, and it may not be cost effective. It means incorrect documentation. Just for the sake of accreditation, people may document. Absence of appropriate executive policy, because they had included the military hospitals and both the civilian hospitals over there, and there was really no proper follow-up from the higher ups over there. The lack of funds and personnel was also faced by them. The disregard for local conditions in the implementation and evaluation was an issue. Training problems of the accreditation model. Heavy workload for the personnel. Yes, definitely the workload increases, but what we have found over here, you will be surprised, is that people are actually happy to do the work most of the time. And even in government hospitals, I have audited several Tamil Nadu government hospitals, and I have found that actually the nurses there particularly were enthused by the NABH process. And mind you, Tamil Nadu probably has some of the largest number of government hospitals which are accredited. So they were quite good as far as the workload were concerned, and which you don't see very easily. They were willing to really wait beyond office hours and finish the work. Also, there is no profit probably for the non-physician personnel. The doctors' participation, they have found, is not really great. There are evaluation problems and in coordination of training and evaluation. There is excessive reliance on certificates. That is what the Iran study has found. Next. Now, when it is second or third reaccreditation, complacency might set in. These are the two sides, two opposite things which you may come across some of the hospitals. There might be compliance on paper, accreditation may become routine, and there might be fall in quality of care also. The cost of accreditation sometimes starts bothering us, and then we start thinking that probably it is not sustainable. But on the other side, if the management is motivated, the staff is motivated, it is an opportunity for innovation. There can be actually competition between the various units. Say you say the male ward against the female ward, etc., etc., or this OPD against that OPD, to see the compliance and that can lead to actually staff engagement and even better care. And over a period of time, actually, fall in the cost of care might be evident. So it's not that if you are re-accredited or second or third time, there will be really fall in the quality of care and the enthusiasm of the staff. Next. Now, there is quality beyond accreditation actually, and how we can take this quality beyond accreditation by making some of these things as part of your accreditation process. One thing is the medical audit. Little more about it later. There is a Donabedian model where it was proposed in 1966 that the structure, process and outcome should be monitored. This was typical for the industry. Next. Now, in this, the physical infrastructure, manpower, materials, and equipment, all these things are monitored. The core process, that is basically the FMS, manpower is HRM, and the core processes in the hospital, which include the diagnostic process and the therapeutic process related to the patient. It is supported by other processes like administration, supportive services, engineering, and maintenance. The expected outcome is, of course, cure of the patient, improvement in the condition. Sometimes incurable cases may die, and some dissatisfied patients may leave against medical advice. We hope that their numbers are reduced. Now, other outcomes, of course, include profits in private hospitals, market share utilization, efficiency of service, etc. Next. Now, there are four approaches basically. One thing is the hospitals we develop industry type of quality assurance programs that detect negative patient outcomes and improve patient care. This is as part of accreditation only. Appointment of a quality coordinator with appropriate authority. The quality department sometimes is extremely docile and they accept all what is dished out to them, but I think we have to make them powerful. Establishment of an effective quality assurance committee which monitors the functioning of all the committees and continuous review of accreditation standards through normal committee function and departmental review and trial service. This is the essence of actually how we can sustain the accreditation, interest in accreditation, and go on improving the quality. Next. Now, coming back to the topic of medical audit or clinical audit, it is a comparison of actual practice against agreed documented evidence-based standard with the intention of improving patient care. Now, you take the simple example of urea reduction ratio in dialysis patients. What is done is that you do a pre-dialysis urea and a post-dialysis urea and see the percentage reduction of urea in the patient. Now, what do you plan to detect in this? That whether the dialysis, you are doing dialysis for 4 hours or whatever the period that has been determined by you, whether the reduction is adequate or no. If it is not adequate, that means that either something is wrong with the machine or with the access, that is the AV fistula through which the dialysis is being done. Maybe it is getting blocked or stenosed or something. So now otherwise there is no way that this dialysis patient, whether he is getting adequate dialysis or no, we will come to know. And that is why if you don't monitor this urea reduction ratio in patients, you also need to monitor this ratio at regular intervals in patients, in dialysis patients. Similarly, the critical lab results information. Whether the critical results are conveyed or not, yes, that you can check by the documentation in the files. But whether action is taken on this or no. You have reported sugar as 800 for some patient, whether the appropriate treatment was instituted or no. Or for that matter, the patient handoff in the ICU, whether the condition of the patient, what are the issues, what needs to be done, and what are the problems that might be encountered in the subsequent shift, whether these handoffs are available or no. They are extremely critical as far as the ICU is concerned. Next. Just one medical audit topic, when you do a medical audit, I thought you should give the aim and purpose, the objectives and the standards used. So I had referred to the venous thromboembolism, and to improve the standard of venous VTE prophylaxis. That is the aim of this medical audit. Assess compliance with VTE prophylaxis and risk assessment on admission and at 24 hours. This is the objective of this medical audit, and you expect 95% compliance. Ideally, it should be 100% for any patient who is likely to be immobilized more than 24 hours after whatever procedure or admission. So this has to be done at various levels and at multiple times depending on the condition of the patient. So if you do an audit like this, it will definitely improve the care of the patient. And next. So this is what I had told, that the organization identifies, manages patients who are at risk of developing deep vein thrombosis. This is in COP 16E. Next. Now the patient outcomes, if they are measured, that is a very interesting part, and the patient reported outcome measures, they support clinician patient communication and patient care. This is a realist synthesis. What they have found in this study is that the patient reported outcome measures completion is not just a neutral act of information retrieval, but it can change how patients think about their condition. And this study reveals that the way in which clinicians use PROMs is shaped by their relationship with the patient and professional roles and boundaries. Future research should examine how this completion and feedback shapes and is influenced by the process of building relationships with the patient. So when sometimes the patient really hesitates to talk to the doctor, but when you use these pre and post procedure surveys, it really improves, makes the patient aware that he should ask more questions, etc. Next. And in the NHS in UK, the patient reported outcomes are regularly followed up in the hip replacement and knee replacement, and they do a pre-treatment, I hope it is visible, pre-surgical treatment and post-operative surveys for this patient, and this has been going on since 2009, and they have found significant improvement in the way procedures are done. Next. Now, coming to the second point was appointment of a quality coordinator with appropriate authority. Actually, NABH empowers the nurses, employees. It encourages introspection, and it even compels people to look into issues which normally they would not have looked into. For example, surgical site infection. Sometimes, the surgeons may be reluctant to discuss that issue. They will say that we have no infection. But when we try to follow it up from the infection control team, what happens is that they are forced to look into it. We are also, as the management or as laboratory, forced to look into the issues and sort out those issues. Okay. Similarly, the compliance to standards, legal and the service standards or the service excellence standards, whatever it might be, that the discharge time or the tax for the labs, why there is delay, what we can do to reduce these problems, all these things really, it empowers all the employees and the nurses to report these issues. The incident reports which are there in the NABH, the Sentinel or the near miss events, and their analysis are extremely enriching experiences for any organization to improve their the quality process in the organization. Next. Now, the establishment of effective committees and functioning. At most hospitals would have the quality assurance, HIC, drugs and therapeutics committee, the medical records, morbidity and mortality committee, safety committee, learning and development committee, the internal complaints committee, or the earlier called as the anti-sexual harassment committee, and the grievance committee. At least to do the education about the functioning of the committees to all the staff really empowers them, improves their knowledge, and definitely they can take it further when it comes to the comes to the functioning of the committees. Of course, some hospitals may have ethics committee, the scientific review committee, medical audit committee, and the diagnostic departments review committee, purchase and condemnation may be one committee or separate committees, and the patient experience committee itself can be actually helping to improve the service standards. So these are the things which are part of NABH, but which are not part of NABH also sometimes, and how they function is totally in our hands and how we take it further. Next. Now, what are the issues faced by hospitals? For example, spurious drugs. I had mentioned earlier. Actually, the Drugs and Therapeutics Committee can look into this and advise the pharmacy. And if the patients are finding problems with non-response, typically if you come across patients who are on antiplatelet drugs and who do develop some coronary thrombosis or something like that, definitely you can look into the quality of the drugs, compare them with the drugs patients who do not develop. Of course there are patient factors, but at the same time, if there are any spurious drugs or if there are adverse drug effects, we might be able to pick up these issues. Then quality of the stents or biomedical equipments, again the purchase committee or the patient experience committee can look into this and they can bring out these issues. Again, quality of human resources, I already mentioned that the training gives us training and development, which is part of NABH, gives us a lot of opportunity to improve the quality of human resources. Next. Now, continuous review of accreditation standards through normal committee function and departmental review, etc. Now, monthly and quarterly reviews, if you do, the functioning of each of the department can be reviewed and improved. And this can be an ongoing process, and actually every accreditation cycle can improve this. So, daily huddle of the core group, innovation projects which can be taken up, appreciation of good work, anybody who has gone out of the scope of his work and assisted the patients and it is appreciated by the patient, this can be appreciated. All these things really go a long way in sustaining the interest in accreditation and improving quality. Next. Benchmarking is something which can be done, but in healthcare it has its own risks. So it is the process of comparing one's business process and performance metrics to industry bests or best practices from other companies or hospitals. This concept was introduced by Xerox in 1986. It can be used as a tool to improve processes in hospitals, but it could have its own risks also. I mean, it's one thing to compare yourself with Cleveland Clinic and another thing to compare yourself with the neighboring hospital, which could lead to some issues. So it is better that you say that you follow certain processes rather than trying to compare the results. Next. Now, after all this discussion, I hope that at least some of you feel that accreditation is, when I rephrase or re-put those questions to you all, that whether accreditation is only about documentation, you may say yes, but you may say that documentation helps to improve the quality. Accreditation cost is high, but probably it is worth. Accreditation becomes routine, but is it really routine? No, it is up to us to maintain it and keep improving on what work we are doing. It's not fun, but are you sure that it's not fun? At least as far as I am concerned, that is something which makes me to get up in the morning, go to work and see what I can improve today for the day or at least for this week, if not at least for this month. And is there scope for innovation? Don't say, oh no, there is a lot of scope for innovation and I'm sure all of you can do something. Next. So it is said that attitude is better than aptitude. But aptitude can be developed by training and by appreciation. And attitudes can be modified by training, evaluation, and also by appreciation. Thank you. Next. So, accreditation is a journey, it's not a destination. Because life is a journey, it's not a destination. And today, I thank everyone, including all of you, who has been part of my life's journey, and that is in accreditation. So, I'm ready to take questions. I hope I have not exceeded the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you, Anjali ma'am. That was a really wonderful session, binding, starting from accreditation to I think the challenges, the solutions, and also you have highlighted a few studies which were done in not only in India but different countries, which were much related to sustainability of the quality aspects in hospital. Friends, now it would be time to take up questions, ma'am, and you can participants, you can put the questions in the chat box, and we will take it up for you. A question from Dr. Namrata Jinna. Difference between medical audit and clinical audit. Anjali ma'am, over to you.
First, see, there is essentially no difference between a medical audit and a clinical audit. They are more or less synonyms, and it is something which is related to the treatment of the patient or the patient experience also to an extent. Okay, so I wouldn't put it as anything different. But if you ask me difference between a medical audit and research, yes. Basically, if anything is research, then you will require the ethics committee approval for that. It may or may not involve any new drug, etc. But whenever you are contacting a patient and whenever you are planning to publish it, definitely it is going to require the ethics committee approval. Whereas for medical audits, you might be contacting the patient or not contacting the patient, but it stays within the hospital and it is usually not published. So and it is part of the improvement process, like I told you about the urea reduction ratio. So it really does not, you might just look at the records pre and post, etc. It may not be requiring the ethics committee approval. Whereas research, if you plan to publish it, that this is the thing, if we do, it is going to improve, etc., then you may require the ethics committee approval. There is some question on sustainability of quality in hospitals. After accreditation is the mindset, commitment of the leaders. What is your opinion? I think most leaders think that it should be sustainable. Definitely financially it is sustainable. I'm not aware of the exact figures, but anywhere between 15 to 20% increment in the charges is allowed, or reimbursement is allowed if you are NABH accredited. It could be 10% also, but then that is what it is, this thing, that 15 to 20%. So financially, if it is definitely sustainable, and that is why so many hospitals are able to do it. Now in government sector, I can tell you from my Tamil Nadu experience that it really gave them, the staff, lot of achievement feeling, and once they got accreditation, they felt extremely happy about it. Or even if we gave numerous observations, they wanted to continue on that on the path of accreditation. That's all I can say about even in government. And definitely in the government sector, once you get the accreditation, what we have observed is that the attitude of the whatever the higher authorities are, they give you more equipment, more staff, and definitely patient care improves as a result of that. Please share a site or magazine where we can keep ourselves updated with the healthcare accreditation and about recent trends. I can say that you should look into the NABH website as far as NABH is concerned, and I saw somebody mentioning IHI, Institute of Healthcare Improvement. That is one thing which I have found. It was very informative. Particularly now I am finding the joy in working and preventing burnouts in the healthcare workers as a very challenging situation, particularly post pandemic or during pandemic. And the end of life conversations, for example, I thought that they were done excellently in that IHI. So these two sites, and then the Google teacher is there. Once you put, so many things come up. So There's a lot of options. There is a question on patient reported outcome measures. Yeah, that is something which is new as far as our country is concerned. And honestly, I am trying to work on this, take it up as a project, because you need to structure it well. You get the answers to the questions that you ask. So your questions have to be framed such that you really get the truth. Otherwise, it might mislead you. If you just let the patient talk about it, you may have a lot of information, but you may not really be able to come to any particular conclusions about it. That really doesn't help. So it has been a challenging situation, and language is again a issue. Everybody is not going to speak English, so I need to get it translated into, at least in Kannada, Tamil and Telugu. In Mysore, these three languages are spoken, and some people are very strict about the particular language, so that's where it is. Yeah, but it's a very very nice thing, and I think once we have these patient related reported outcome measures, we might be able to really convince the clinicians to talk little more to the patients and explain. Though it again depends. The hospitals which follow these policies usually or go for these patient reported outcome measures may have a very good counseling system and may not really find anything new in the patient reported outcome measures. I mean, I had done a very small study on knee replacement patients, and we had called them up at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 1 year. And about 70% patients were really walking quite well after knee replacement, one or two sides, whatever it might be. And we found that at 3 months, about 70% were very happy with their progress. At 9 months, practically everybody was happy. Only one patient out of the 35 which we could contact was not really walking, and the patient's relative answered the questions, and the patient's relative said, "Our hagene," means that patient is like that only, not really interested in walking. So this is what happens. Now, why did this patient not walk? I am interested medically. You underwent the procedure, a lot of pain, maybe spent your own money also, I don't know, we didn't go into those details, who are the providers. But then why did she not walk, or he or she not walk? We should have done something about it. But then it stopped there, because at the end of 1 year this patient had not walked. So probably patient not interested also. They should have come back to the hospital and told, I'm not walking. I mean, it probably requires some psychotherapy or whatever, counseling sessions. It might not be anything physical as far as, or it might be physical. But then we didn't go, so that's the story of the patient. If we really do something, we have to take it to a logical conclusion. That's what.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining your experience and the study done by you. Ma'am, Usha ma'am, we have a question for you. Ma'am, are you able to hear me? So,
yeah.
Dr. Anjali highlighted on the regular trainings for the human resource at hospital. So the courses like our certificate course in quality and assurance fill these gaps in a hospital?
Definitely. What in terms of many of the methods, we will be talking about quality. She also highlighted, like, there is a saying in total quality management that it starts with training and ends with training. So I think yes, if we really look at, say for example, if we look at the IT sector, for instance, there we talk about cost, process, and quality, and they are able to achieve because many of them concentrate. Like, so when a new person joins an IT company, they get trained for 3 months before they actually go to the actually work. But our hospitals cannot really afford that so much, right? So there are vacancies, there are people who are trained, they quit jobs, and therefore there is a challenge in how we design it. But any quality system to be implemented in, like Dr. Anjali said, in true spirit and letter, and we have to really train, and we also have to train them on a lot of the formats, how do I take data? How do I measure? How do I really report this? So it is, any of the, system. It could be accreditation, it could be any internal quality system, or it could be TQM, or any system that you put in place requires that people in the teams are empowered with training. And then that is a very important one. And we would be, kind of telling how to, maybe organize these trainings and what to expect. How do you really measure their learning and so on. But like I said, yes, there is a lot that we need to do in the hospital and the health sector on the training. Yes, there are a lot of trainings that the government sector does. Whenever there's a new scheme, whenever there's a new program, new protocols coming in, they do train at, like a very routine kinds of training. But we do require, energizing. Ma'am also said something very importantly about attitude and the culture. So, to build that positivity, like she said, every day I'm ready to get up in the morning and I really look forward to going and doing something to improve. Can we really bring that energy, that kind of, making people really participate in a positive way in the system is what we really need to look at. Yes.
Ma'am, there are a number of questions coming up in the chat, but it's a just reminder that we have exceeded already 10 minutes of our timing, and request participants to put down their questions. We will get the answer by Dr. Anjali Arun and will be posting to you, to your email ID, to your registered email ID. Ma'am, last question what I have received is it's about the course of quality, which says that, ma'am, is it like how the course is the eligibility criteria, and will it include the NQAS implementation in the course? I would just put tell repeatedly that yes, this course is having a explanation about all the accreditations such as ISO, NQAS, NABH, and JCI, a brief introduction and difference between these accreditations. And eligibility criteria is, yes, if you are interested in a little experience in healthcare and interested in quality management as a hospital, you can apply for the course. And the last question is the duration of the course. It's a 3 months course, and it starts on February 25th and ends on May 28th. So it's a fully packed course, and includes the project, includes interesting projects which will be carried out by you, and also an interactive quiz and classes. So the last part of this, we are posting the feedback link in the chat. And if you submit your feedback link, you will get your certificate of the class. So coming back to Dr. Anjali Arun, it was a very wonderful session by you, ma'am, and it was informative, and you have read the chat. I think all the appreciation through the participants. Thank you very much, Dr. Anjali, for your time and sharing your experience with us. And also, Dr. Usha, ma'am, thank you very much for highlighting and setting the context and the importance of quality in hospitals.
As people answer, may I, Dr. Somebody has asked that I joined the program late. Are you putting that in the YouTube?
Ma'am, it's already broadcasted in the YouTube. Yes, we will put this masterclass in the YouTube. You can, and we'll share the link with all the registered participants, so they can go through it, and any queries you can come back to us and write. We will get in contact with Dr. Anjali to get your response. The feedback link is in the chat. Please go through it, and yes, we will be sharing the certificate along with the course details, and please send your questions to us so that we'll get back to you on that. Thank you, Dr. Anjali and Dr. Usha Manjunath. Thank you so much,
Dr. Anjali. It was great, always something new to learn. Dr. Deepa, there is more on the good picture.
Ma'am, has a request, participant has requested for a date to take a group photo. I think that's wonderful. So I'm requesting who are able to enable their videos, kindly do it so that we can take a group picture. And Varghese, please allow the participants for their to enable their videos and help us with the group shot.
Okay.
Keep smiling because we don't know when the Varghese will take a click. So please keep smiling. Yes. We see people joining from their workplaces and from different parts of our country. Thank you so much. And spending a good evening, that too on Sunday. Thank you so much for all the participants. Varghese, do tell me when to stop smiling.
Sure, ma'am. It's done, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. We will be sharing these pictures along with the thank you email to you all, and keep connected with IIHMR Bangalore for more updates on healthcare. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks once again to all the participants, staying till the end, and hopefully you will fill the, feedback form. Dr. Anjali, I'm, really very thankful to you once again. We will continue to really engage with you and for various training programs. Thank you.